It's the CalebDMTG show.
We'll start with the non-artifact colorless cards. And white, we'll mix them together. So we have a whole section. When I do this review, we've been doing it that I'll go through like an entire color, and then I'll take a break, get up, move my feet, give my vocal cords a rest. There's a lot more talking in an oral set review than there is in my normal stream. So it's hard on the vocal cords, but we'll pound it out. It'll be sweet. I do enjoy doing them, and I tend to learn a lot. I tend to learn from the chat as well. It's hard when you're just like reading something by yourself once or twice. It's hard to like catch everything, and it's really easy to misread new cards because there's so much text when you're going through the entire set. Anyway, Ugin the Spirit Dragon is a hell of a card. One of the best of all time. Perhaps the most powerful of all time. Cube staple. Modern staple. Yeah, this is going to see some standard play, huh? And some historic as well. This one getting into historic for the ramp decks there. It's going to be kind of nice. Note that Ugin adds a interesting dimension to the ramp mirror. Because the ramp decks in historic are playing field, right? So then you make all those zombies. But Ugin can just like -0 to clear a field of zombies. So now you need to answer the Ugin first, or give the zombies haste, or take an extra turn. You have to add another element to your win condition. Is Ugin already in historic? No, it hasn't been printed into historic. That's just cards that are on Moto. Or on Arena, sorry. It's already in Pioneer, Ugin is. And it's going to be great in Standard. It's going to be super good in Standard, yeah. Card's too good. It's too good not to see play. But it's also costed such that it's not going to like dominate the format, right? It's not going to... They probably won't have to ban this one. Alright, Alpine Watchdog. 1 in a white, 2/2 vigilance. Those stats, I usually don't want too many like 2 mana, 2/2 like nothing burger abilities. I usually don't want very many of those in my limited decks. And this is a limited card, right? Clearly not costed for constructed. Yeah, so not super excited to take this one early. That said, I do give it 10 out of 10 good boys. Angelic Ascension. 1 in white, exile target creature or planeswalker. Its controller makes a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Not bad, not too shabby. I imagine you're going to be using this on your own creatures way more often than you're going to be targeting the opponent's. But if you ever do target your opponent's creature with this, you're going to have like a really good reason, right? Maybe you're just like fogging a Baneslayer Angel for a turn. They attack, you exile it. No, they have a 4/4 instead of a 5/5, I guess. Right? A little easier to race. But yeah, if your creature's dying in combat, or if the opponent used a enchantment removal on a creature, now you've got a 2 mana 4/4 flyer. It's really good and limited. Probably not good enough for constructed, right? Anointed Chorister, 1 for 1/1 lifelink. And you can pump it to be a 3/3. 4/4 lifelink's no joke. I guess you got 10 mana, you can activate it multiple times too. Holy shit. So, I normally wouldn't interrupt a set review, but apparently the Dark Lord Ragnar has gotten engaged! Congrats, the Dark Lord Ragnar. Your boyfriend proposed last night? Wait, what did you say? Oh right, you said you got engaged. That's probably a yes. Please celebrate with me in this timeless classic. We don't do song requests in the middle of a review. If you're gonna be around, like, 6 hours from now, at the end of the stream, I will be, you know, I'll do some cubing at the very end of the stream, but, yeah. We're very, very intentionally doing music that will not mute the VODs for the people that can't catch the stream. Anyway, no celebration! Give me 24 hours. Yeah, if you wanna do a song request tomorrow, that'd be absolutely fine as well. Anyway, I would not pick Anointed Chorister very highly, even if I was already in life gain. It's a super late game ability, and usually you don't want very many one mana 1/1s in your limited deck. And then, of course, this isn't costed for constructed either. Heck yeah, the Dark Lord Ragnar. And congrats again. Alright, Aven Gagglemaster. 3 white for a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each creature you control with flying. This is solid, right? This is solid. Not always going to be a first pick, right? You can use, you could pick a piece of quality removal over it. Or, like, an actual rare bomb. But as far as uncommons go, totally fine, totally serviceable. Baneslayer Angel actually saw a lot of standard play over the years. Even if it was just like a sideboard card in Caw-Blade, right? We've seen similar with Lyra recently, but something stylish about the original. Yeah, I'm glad it's in standard. And it's a sort of bomb that's like not unbeatable if you face it in sealed, right? Like it will end the game when it comes into play. You know, if it goes unanswered, it's going to end the game. It's almost impossible to race. And if you are white and you get a Baneslayer Angel, I mean, if you get a Baneslayer Angel, you're going to be in white. Like if you open it in pack 2, that's a good reason to shift colors, for example. And sometimes in pack 3, you can shift colors for a Baneslayer Angel. Talking about draft. But that said, there's still some common answers in the format to answer it. It's not like this unkillable thing. It was kind of nice. Kind of nice for a limited warping mythic common. At least there's answers that, at least it's able to be interacted with. Anyway, next card. Basra'S Cat, 1 white. Starting 3 loyalty. +1, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Gains indestructible until end of turn. -2, whenever 1 or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create them many 1/1s that are also tapped and attacking. Or -6, you get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, then put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So that's a pretty good emblem. That's for a 3-mana walker. That said, the other 2 abilities do not impress. I'll be surprised if this one sees a lot of standard play. Like if it finds a home. I think it's like slightly undercosted for that. That said, I think this is about the right power level for a limited Planeswalker. It doesn't start with like way too much loyalty. It's got useful effects, but you still have to kind of like build around it. Yeah, good stuff. Hey, Will Josh thinks the sub, thinks the 14 months. Yeah, it does nothing by itself, right? And it doesn't defend itself. A very, very beatable Planeswalker. Which is what I want in my limited formats. Planeswalkers that don't just win the game by themselves, you have to build around them, and then there's counterplay. Alright, Basra'S Acolyte, 2 white for a 2/3 lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each of 2 target creatures you control. It feels like this is a reprint. I don't know that it's a reprint. I didn't like look it up or anything, but it feels like we've seen really similar cards like to this before. It's some fine value. Obviously, if I'm talking about a limited card, I'm going to be talking about it in limited context. But if we're talking about like a rare or mythic, I'm more likely to talk about it in constructed. All right, Basra'S Lieutenant, 3 white, 3/4, vigilance protection from multicolored. So it passes the Teferi test. Most cards don't. This one does, because it can't be bounced. When Basra'S Lieutenant enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. When it or another creature you control dies, if it had a 1/1 counter on it, get a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. This card's kind of sweet. When I first read it, I was like, there's no way this is playable in constructed, but I might have been wrong. The Thragtusk value, like when your thing dies getting a 2/2, that's pretty good. And even if it's just pumping itself, then you have a 4-mana 4/5 with vigilance and protection from multicolored. So depending on how relevant protection from multicolored is, could be real strong. And if you put that 1/1 counter on a different creature that can attack that turn, like it's getting in damage. Yeah, we'll see. 4 mana is a lot though. 4 mana is a lot for a white critter. This is like Hero Bladehold mana, right? Once you get into 4 mana for a threat, it's gotta be pretty strong. Basra'S Solidarity, 1 into white, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Yeah, so this is another one that's probably not going to see constructed play. But, I mean, maybe in like a super niche deck. But it does point towards the 1/1 counter synergy that's going on in M21 in the limited format. There's a few cards that interact with 1/1 counters. I think this card's good. I don't know how aggressively I'm taking it, but it seems strong in your aggro decks, right? It's just not nearly as good as like an Anthem, like an actual glorious Anthem. The fact that it's just putting them on the ones that you have in play right then and there. Nice top run and aggressive curve though. Remember the card Thrive in Limited? Was that the X green? Put a 1/1 counter on X creatures. That card was just like okay, right? I don't think it was an early pick or anything like that. Celestial Enforcer, 2 and a white, 2/3, 1 and a white, tap target creature. Activate this ability only if you control a creature with flying. Okay, so it's a tapper, but it's a super situational tapper. I don't know why they made the activation cost 2. Like the fact that it costs that a 3-mana tapper is already like above curve for a tap effect, right? And then you can't even activate it unless you have a creature with flying. This card does not excite me. Certainly not in multiples. But tappers are good. I'm sure I'll end up playing it at some point. Concordia Pegasus, 2 mana for 1/3 flyer. 2 mana 1/3s are like usually a little bit better than they seem in limited. Like look at this 3-drop, wouldn't be able to attack into it, right? And then having flying is icing on the cake. It brings me from like a 2 mana 1/3 vanilla is a card that I'll play occasionally in my super controlling decks that just want to slow down the game, or like I would board it in against aggro. But because Concordia Pegasus has flying, I'm gonna be starting it most of the time. Certainly if I'm like base white and sealed, it's a sort of card. It's usually gonna make the cut. Containment Priest, 1 and white, 2/2. Flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and wasn't cast, exile it instead. Yeah, I don't think this card's gonna see play in any format. Nah, I'm kidding, it's reprint. Legacy Staple, Containment Priest. Really good there against Show and Tell decks, Reanimator decks, Green Sun Zenith decks, a lot of different decks. So it's kind of nice to have it in Standard and Historic and Pioneer. I'm pretty happy to see that one. Hey Triflin, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 44 months. Daybreak Charger, 1 and white, 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. That's not the... I mean, I like that art a lot. Usually I'm not a super fan of 2 mana 3/1s in limited. At least this one gets like the pump. So if you're bricked off, but you have a flyer or something, you can get a few damage in, or help another card trade up. Or if you have like a really aggressive curve where you're like 1-drop, 2-drop, attack for 3 on turn 2 or something. Yeah, but no, it's filler. Defiant Strike, 1 mana, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, draw a card. Also filler, pretty fillery. Usually I don't end up having space in my decks for cards like Defiant Strike. Even in my aggro decks. Hey Arbitriv, MTG, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Take that, Cauldron Cat. Oh, Containment Priest. Yeah. I mean, Cauldron Cat has a few answers to it, right? I guess you flash it in response, and they've already like put the trigger on the stacks. So then it gets exiled. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty decent. Man, Luris would have been a little bit less broken in a format with Containment Priest around too, huh? It was pretty easy to answer though, just a 2/2. Dub, we've seen Dub before. 2 and white, enchant creature. Gets +2/+2, has first strike, and is a knight. Yeah, I'm more of a fan of auras than most, I think, than most strong Magic players. Because there's the inherent risk of getting blown out by an unsummon or something like that. But turning some filler card, like turning your 3/1 nothing burger into a 5/3 first strike, is just all of a sudden your creature that trades with everything, suddenly can't get blocked by anything. You're turning a card that, yeah, you're basically spending a filler card, a card that didn't have much value anyway. And you're getting a card that's very hard for the opponent to deal with if they don't have an immediate answer. And it's good on evasive creatures too. So you're not always going to play dub, but it's a nice augmenter in your aggressive decks at the very least. Fate's Fetters is another nice one to have around. This is a cube staple. Enchant permanent when Fate's Fetters enters the battlefield, gain 4 life. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. And that's 3 and a white. Anyone that watches a lot of Cube will be familiar with this card. And then it is, of course, an older reprint. It's nice to have answers to Planeswalkers that aren't super narrow. So you can throw this on a giant threat, you can throw it on a Planeswalker, you can throw it on an artifact or enchantment with activated abilities. And then the life gain is pretty relevant against burn decks and such. So, yeah, good one to have around. I have cast this card in Constructed, and who knows, I might again. Falconer Adept, 3 and a white, 2/3. When a Falconer Adept attacks, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying, tapped and attacking. I think this is a good rate. I think this is a good rate for an uncommon. If you ever attack with it twice, then you've just like gotten half of a Lingering Souls. Lingering Souls is a really good card. And of course, if you can jump it so that it gets in multiple times. Oh man. Bird Army. Yeah, the thing about getting these 1/1... So usually when you've got these effects that like give you a 1/1 that's attacking, usually even if the opponent can't deal with the larger creature, like say they don't have a creature that can answer it, it's pretty easy to have a Piddler that can like eat up the 1/1s from something like Brimaz or something like that. All they need is like a 1/2, and now they're eating the Brimaz tokens, and the Brimaz isn't actually getting value, it's just a 3/4. With Falconer Adept, the 1/1s have flying, which means it's way harder for the opponent to have a blocker that can eat the little army that you're generating. So yeah, I'm not saying this card's better than Brimaz, of course, but the 1/1s are certainly more exciting, right? Feat of Resistance, another reprint here, and another sign that 1/1 counters are a synergy in this format. 1 and a white instant, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control. It gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So not constructed playable, right? A little too clunky at 2 mana. But a great limited card. I think in its format, I think Feat of Resistance like almost always made the cut in my deck, and sometimes you'd play multiple. Card's great. Blowout combat, blowout removal. If one of your creatures is held down by an opposing aura, like a pacifism or whatever, the protection can make it fall off. Top tier reprint for this limited format. Hey Beers, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 26 months. Much love. Gale Swooper, 3 and white, 3/2. When it enters battlefield, target creature gains flying until end of turn. Okay, jump your Falconer Adept, why not? I mean, 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer is already, like, fine in your curve, so jumping something else, you get a little bit more damage in. It's kind of nice. Totally reasonable. Very middle of the pack pick. Fill out your curve. A Glorious Anthem. Oh, cool. There are a few limited decks that wouldn't want Glorious Anthem, but they're the exception, right? Most of your white decks in limited are going to want this card, and they're going to be really happy with it. You can pick it pretty aggressively. And then, of course, if you're drafting, you're going to value creatures higher because they're going to be better. Griffin Airy, 1 and a white, enchantment, beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 more life this turn, create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. Yeah, I don't know about all that. So if you only trigger this once, then it's probably not worth playing. Like a 2/2 flyer with suspend. If you trigger it twice, then it's worthwhile. But it seems like you'd want a really specific deck that's gaining 3 or more life a turn multiple times. Reminds you of Drakehaven? Yeah, kinda. I think this card's worse than Drakehaven. I guess the one benefit over Drakehaven is that you could have like one 3x lifelinker that's triggering it repeatedly. But that also gives your opponent a chance to interact with your life gain. Whereas Drakehaven was just, oh, you got a cycler, you got a 2/2. And then your cyclers found other cyclers. So much worse. I think this card's gonna go super late. If you trigger it 4 more times in limited, it's probably the best card in your deck. Yeah, it's probably pretty good. If you do manage to trigger it that many times. There's some other interesting life gain payoffs in the format too, so it'll be interesting to see how good the life gain deck is. Idol of Endurance, 2 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, exile creature cards with a mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. 1 and a white tap. Until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards exiled without paying its mana cost. So if you play Idol with 5 mana, you can play it and activate it immediately. Immediately get a 3-drop threat. And you're casting, so you can't use this to like play cards on the opponent's turn. Unless the creature has flash, I guess. We have already looked at a creature with flash in this set review. Pseudo Luris, yeah, kind of like Luris. It can go up to 3, which is kind of nice. It doesn't have Luris's body though, and it's certainly not a companion. And then you have to worry about actually getting all those critters in the graveyard. At what point does this become worth? The game has to go long enough for you to actually, like, play them all, too. So you're almost never playing this card on turn 3, even though it costs 3 mana. Because you're not going to have that many creatures in your graveyard. And then you need to spend, because it's a tap ability, you need to spend a turn every single time. I think they could have removed the tap ability from this. And had kind of an interesting card. Like, thinking about, like, the X sorcery spells. To rebuy all creatures, like X, Y, white. Rebuy your creatures that cost less than X, that sort of thing. And the exile after a turn or whatever. I think having to pay the 3 mana up front and then another 2 mana, and then also having to get the creatures into your graveyard somehow. I think those are already like pretty reasonable costs. So yeah, I don't expect this card to see constructed play. And it seems hard to really pay off in limited too, because I don't think you're going to want to have that many 3 mana or less creatures in your limited deck, unless you're very aggressive. And this ability is not that aggressive, right? Rebuying your dead early creatures. This doesn't help you like get damage in, it just like rebuys your early crap. Does not excite. Legion's Judgment, 2 and a white, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Sure, this is the sort of card that is pretty fillery. It, like, more often than not, does not make the cut, and it's like my 24th or 25th card. But it's not embarrassing, right? It's certainly not an embarrassing 23rd card, especially if you're light on removal and need a way of chonking a big thing out of the way. You see Idol of Endurance as a sideboard for against a control deck with Wraths. Yeah, but now you've got a permanent... But now your anti-Wrath card is, like, really weak to permanent removal. Or Teferi or whatever, right? Super fails the Teferi test. And then it takes a while, too. It's like a late-game card, but rather than getting a late-game effect, like, against a control deck, for 5 mana, I want, like, Ceratops, right? I want, like, an uncounterable, hasty, mangle-your-face thing. I don't want to rebuy some dead 3-drop. and then like maybe get a 2 drop back the next turn, etc. Or if I'm going to play an anti-sweeper card, I want it to just be like, yeah, don't kill my things. Here's an instant. Bam, don't kill my things. My things live. Or like an indestructible threat. I don't know. You get the idea. It's a little too wonky. A little too wonky. Alright, Light of Promise. 2 and a white. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has whenever you gain life, put that many 1/1 counters on this creature. Oh my. So this could be good on a flyer. Really high variance aura, huh? Super high variance. If that's what you're doing, though, if you're like consistently gaining life, then I guess it's not the worst. It'll be the worst in most decks, though. Makeshift Battalion, 2 and a white, 3/2. When at least 2 other creatures attack, put a 1/1 counter on it. Super fine filler within your curve, right? Mangara the Diplomat, 3 and a white, 2/4 lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. So this seems like an EDH card, right? Very specifically. I guess it's like good against aggro decks, maybe. Because you draw cards and then have a lifelinking blocker. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this sees standard play. It's like a sideboard card or something. 9 lives, 1 white, enchantment, hexproof. If a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter on 9 lives. When there are 9 or more incarnation counters on 9 lives, exile it. When it leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. So this art is adorable for starters. Love it. This card is interesting. The hexproof's real nice. The fact that you play your card that is supposed to buy you a lot of time, the opponent doesn't just like bounce it and dead you, or disenchant it and dead you, means that this card might actually be not the worst, right? You don't want to play it when you're at like 20 life. You'd rather like soak some hits, get down below 10, and then when the opponent's like smelling blood in the water, you run this out, and then every single time they would deal damage to you. Like they hit you with a 5/5, you're only getting 1 incarnation counter. You buy a lot of time that way. In limited, I'm not sure if I would main deck this card, because it's pretty bad against some opponents. The smaller their threats are, the worse 9 lives gets. The smaller and more numerous. But it's going to be like really hard for some decks to beat, right? If they're trying to kill you with like a single craw worm, you're like, this thing. In that case, the 9 lives isn't as good as a removal spell. But you know, if they have 2 craw worms, buy you some turns. Kitchen table? Yeah, no, there's a few kitchen table combos where you can become quote-unquote invincible with 9 lives or whatever. But this ain't a review for casuals. I could maybe see it as a sideboard card and constructed for against aggro decks. I wouldn't be excited to sideboard it. I probably wouldn't sideboard it, but I could see it. I could see it. It'd be interesting to play with it. See when it's like appropriate to play it in limited. Pack leader, 1 and a white, 2/2. All the dogs you control get +1/+1. Whenever pack leader attacks, prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn to dogs you control. So the thing that I have to say about this card is, it's about goddamn time, Wizards. It's about goddamn time. Ten good boys out of 10. If you're gonna play this card in limited and have it be more than just a 2-mana 2/2, that's gonna depend on, you know, how many dogs you have in your deck. It's pretty intuitive. It's pretty good though. Pretty good if you get a few. I think like 3/4 plus. It starts to become actively good in your deck. And then, of course, even just on its own, it's a 2-mana 2/2 that prevents all damage that would be dealt to it when it attacks, which is okay. Not that exciting, you know. 2/2 is pretty easy to block, even if they're not killing it, just with like a 1/3 or whatever. But still okay. Alright, Rambunctious Mutt. Constructed? Maybe. We'll see if it's supported. There's not a whole lot of playable doggos in Magic history. But maybe eventually, huh? One day. You're not doing summer quests during this overview, Two-Tone Terran. I'll put it in the stream title. But I want there to be a unmuted VODs, because for the people that don't catch the stream live. Cool. Thanks for being understanding. Rambunctious Mutt, 3 white for 3/4. And his battlefield destroy an artifact or enchantment opponent controls. Sweet. Yeah, you can play one of these in your limited deck. It's not like super exciting, you're not taking it that highly. But one's okay. The nice thing about this, as opposed to just like actual factual disenchant, is that even if your opponent doesn't have a target, if you have nothing better to do, a 3/4 is not that bad. Relevant Body. Revitalize, 3 mana, gain 3 life, draw a card. This is a pretty important card in the set, right? Pretty important card in the limited format. I've seen Revitalize played in Standard before, for sure, and it might again. But in terms of limited, there's a few cards that triggers. If you're playing the make a 2/2, and you cast Revitalize, get a 2/2, draw a card. Starts to get interesting, right? You like 3 or 4 of these. Trigger life gain matrix cards. Get rolling. And then it's just like not embarrassing filler in a control deck. You're never going to take this card highly in those decks, though. Ruined Halo, white enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Your protection from the chosen card name. So sometimes with Ruined Halo, you name a targeted spell like Thoughtseize, but most of the time you're just naming your opponent's best threat and turning that off. Like Tarmogoyf, right, in Modern. So this is a nice reprint. It's a nice card to see in Standard. Versatile answer, does some interesting things. Sometimes multiples can lock out specific decks, especially if they're planning on only attacking you with a couple of different kinds of threats. Sanctum of Tranquil Light, white, legendary enchantment, Shrine. Oh, the shrines are back. The shrines are back! 6 mana, tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. So Thassa's tap ability is like pretty okay for limited, right? 4 mana, tap something. And then at a certain point, you're tapping 2 things. 6 mana is a lot, but it's never going to be 6 because you're always going to have at least 1 shrine. So it's going to be like 5 maximum. I think when you have 3 shrines is when this card starts to get interesting. Starts to get actively good. Seasoned Hollowblade, 2 mana for a 3/1. Discard a card. Tap Seasoned Hollowblade. It deals. It gains indestructible until end of turn. I feel like we've seen this. I feel like we've seen this ability. Yeah, not quite a Danto Vanguard. The new Regenerate, yeah. I think we've seen it with like a 2 and a black creature. You like tap it and it gains indestructible. Yeah, like the 2/1 from Dominaria. Tap isn't in the cost? No. But it's part of the resolution. So the way that this is useful is you're attacking, they block, you discard a card to make it indestructible. And then it doesn't matter that you're tapping it because it's already tapped. Or if they play a removal spell, you can bin a card to have it live, or you can block, discard, of course. free discard outlet. That's true. Yeah, free discard outlets are relevant sometimes for reanimator strategies. I'm not sure what rating I would give this in limited. It's obviously like much better than a vanilla 3-1, but it's definitely not a bomb either. The more 1-1s your opponent has to just like throw in front of it, the worse it gets probably. And then some next just aren't going to care about a 3-1, so they're going to have X4s. You think it's worse than a 3-1 first strike? Interesting. Is it? Is it worse than that? Oh yeah, on defense it's better than Vanguard. Which might make it like a slightly better limited card than Vanguard. But Vanguard's so good and constructed. You think a 3-1 first strike would be busted? I remember when a 3-1 first strike was like a 5-mana card. So maybe you're right. I guess I see it as like somewhere between like a 4 and an 8 pick in draft. Anyway, secure the scene. 4 and white, exile target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So exile effects are real nice. Maybe nice enough to even play at sorcery speed and give your opponent a 1/1. Hitting a permanent's good. Can answer a shrine if you have nothing else. We do set review in white, blue, black, red, green order, Darkzilla, and we're on white, so you can always figure out where I'm at in the set review by the color and the alphabetical order. Why is it non-land? Oh, you want a 5-mana exile a land? Is that is that what you're upset about? Yeah, I see the secure the scene as filler. You can maybe play a couple in some decks if you're really light on removal, or if you super don't care about your opponent having some 1/1s, then it gets better. Selfless Savior, 1 mana for a 1/1, sacrifice it. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, this card's okay. I try not to play 1 mana 1/1s very often. But you can protect your Dog Lord if you're in Dog Tribal mode. Having effects that protect each other is real pleasant. I do wish it was a 2/1. But it is what it is. I give it 10 out of 10 good doggos. Benevolent Bodyguard? Yeah, it's a little bit different than Bodyguard, huh? Bodyguard's not one that... I mean, Bodyguard's like a playable 1 mana 1/1, but it's not one that I'm always excited to play. Oh shit, also, protection sometimes like acts as evasion and stuff. Selfless Savior's never doing that. Never making pacifism fall off. It's just like, yeah, not on the same level. Hey, Grin Street thinks the 12 months, the full year. Appreciate it. Don't sleep on it. I'll sleep on it. It looks comfy. Alseed is decent. Alseed is decent. Isn't Alseed also protection? Protection's better than indestructible. Unless, like, your opponent's very specifically playing a sweeper, right? Siege Striker, 2 and white, 1/1, double strike. When it attacks, you may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature tapped this way. It's a fine limited card. Obviously, you're going to want as many creatures as possible to pump it up. Create an Abyss, make your opponent have to block it every turn, lose a creature every turn. Note that it gives your creatures that are summoning sick something to do when they first come into play. It's a little bit of value. Not constructed playable. Not costed for constructed. Not powered for constructed. And that's fine. Speaker of the Heavens, white, 1/1, Vigilance lifelink. Tap, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Activate this ability only if you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, and only anytime you can cast a sorcery. This card's sweet. This card's good. I think it sees play. It reminds me of the 1-mana 1/1 lifelink, where if you have 10 more than your starting life total, it becomes like a 6/6 flyer or something. They seem like really similar starting conditions. Yeah, Sarah's something or other. Yeah, it's not tap sag. You keep the 1/1, so you're activating it every turn. Yeah, Sarah Ascendant, thank you. Yeah, so the activated ability is like even less than Sarah Ascendant, but it doesn't do anything the first turn it comes into play. If you top deck a Sarah Ascendant in the late game, you play it, you just like got this huge life-linking body. When you top deck this, you have to wait a turn before you can start activating. Similar to, as people in the chat have pointed out, similar to Dragon Master Outcast in that regard. But yeah, because I've seen Sarah Ascendant see play in Modern and stuff, it makes me think that Speaker of the Heavens might see play in Standard. It's certainly an exciting card to build around in Limited. Hard, because in Limited your opponent's like actively... All Limited decks are like full of creatures that are actively attacking your opponent's life total, so it seems really situational in Limited. But if you ever get a 4/4 out of it, you're going to feel real good. Staunch Shieldmate, 1 mana for 1/3. Yeah, earlier I was talking about how like 2 mana 1/3 vanillas are like sometimes worth it in super defensive decks. It's the same thing, right? The difference between 1 mana and 2 mana is pretty negligible. Some extremely aggressive decks might want this because they might actually want a 1-drop that they can put 1/1 counters on. Pretty narrow though. Swift Response, 2 mana, destroy target tapped creature. Sure. The issue with Swift Response, only hitting tapped creatures, is that you're not going to be able to force the way for your attackers. White's usually kind of an attacky color. That's usually the purpose of white, is you're curving out with your critters. So Swift Response is a fine removal spell. Instant speed, 2 mana. The issue with it, though, is again, it's not going to fit those aggro decks that want it. Sometimes they'll play it anyway, either because they've got tappers, so they can just like tap the opponent's largest creature and then kill it with Swift Response, or because they can like consistently get into racing situations. Like Blue-White Flyers is a card that would want Swift Response because they're trying to attack in the air and then race the opponent's ground pounders by like putting some walls in front and stuff. Swift Response is really good in that sort of situation. Tempered Veteran, 2 mana for a 1/2. 1 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature with a 1/1 counter on it, and then 6 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So pretty niche, pretty clunky. If things start growing though, could get out of hand. As we pointed out earlier in this set review, 1/1 counters are like kind of a sub-theme going on in this set. So this card could be quite strong in the right deck. Valorous Steed, 5 mana for 3/3 Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 2/2 White Knight. It also has Vigilance. That's fine. Pair of bodies. Pair of bodies in a card. Not a super early pick, but not unexciting either. Rin Wingmare, 3 mana for a 2/1 non-creature spells, cost 1 more to cast, flying. I mean, I've played this card in Legacy before, so... It's no Thalia, but it's close. Sometimes you only play it as a sideboard card. Sometimes it makes the main deck. Decks that care about the tax effect really care about it, right? Sometimes just buying a turn from your opponent playing a sweeper is worth it. In limited, it also has flying, so actually better than Thalia in limited because the evasion is better than first strike. Warded Battlements, 2 and a white, 0/3 defender, attacking creatures you control get +1/+0. Here's another card for Blue-Eyed Flyers, huh? Yeah, interesting little bit of passive-aggressive nonsense going on here. I'm trying to think of the sort of deck where I would and wouldn't want Warded Battlements. If you're like extremely aggressive, then giving your attackers +1/+0 becomes better. We've seen that just in like enchantment form. Orcish Oriflame, I think. I don't know. It's like a 4 mana. Your attackers get +1/+0. Worth it, especially if you can spread the buff out over multiple creatures, right? If you have cards that spit out multiple creatures, then that effect is going to get better. The more individually reasonable your cards are, the worse Warded Battlements gets. It's not an especially good blocker, right? 3 mana for an 0/3 is like not a good rate. It doesn't disincentivize the opponent for attacking. So you're not going to really want to play it in more controlling archetypes. Control and mid-range does not want this card. So kind of a niche card, super low pick. Oh, I was going to take a break. That's right. When I do my set reviews, I take a break in between colors. And we already started on Baron, but that's okay. Yeah, thanks for the reminder, Sotaglo. Yeah, gonna get some more water, and I'll be back in a few minutes.